Look, I've been a sports journalist documenting the beautiful game for a long, long time. And if there's one absolute truth I can impart to all you new soccer fans out there, it's this. In football, literally, no giant is safe. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the absolute heartbreaking devastation that is World Cup qualifying. Because honestly, getting to the tournament, it's often way more dramatic than the World Cup itself. All that history, the massive expectations, the incredible star power. It means absolutely zero the second that whistle blows.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Just look at this quote. Former France manager Gerard Houllier once said, "He sent an Exocet missile through the heart of French football." Now, he isn't talking about an actual act of war here. He's literally talking about one of his own players. That right there captures the sheer, visceral anger, the pure toxicity that a qualification failure can breed within an entire nation.
So I want you to ponder this for a moment. How in the world can a massive football powerhouse, a team absolutely stacked with global superstars, just completely crumble in the blink of an eye? How does one tiny, split-second decision rewrite a country's entire sporting history? Well, to really understand this high-stakes drama, we've got to travel back in time a bit.
Section 1. The Ghost of '93, the missile that broke France. We're heading back to the 1990s. Now, this was an era where World Cup qualification was just a brutal, cutthroat gauntlet. And the French national team, this incredibly star-studded squad fighting tooth and nail to reach the 1994 World Cup in the USA, they were about to experience a trauma that would haunt them for literally decades.
Let's look at the tragic, rapid-fire timeline of how this unraveled. First up, October 1993. France suffers a completely shocking 3-2 home defeat to massive underdogs, what we call minnows, Israel. But, they still had a chance. In their final game against Bulgaria, all France needed was a simple draw. Okay, set the scene. The score is 1-1. We are in the 89th minute. French substitute David Ginola gets the ball deep in the corner. Literally all he has to do is hold it, shield the ball, waste some time. Instead, he hits this wild, horribly overhit cross into the box. Nobody's there. Bulgaria intercepts it, launches a lightning-fast counterattack, and in the 90th minute, Emil Kostadinov scores from an impossible angle. Just like that, France is eliminated. No way.
The psychological warfare of that moment is perfectly and honestly kind of brutally captured by this fierce taunt from Bulgaria's star forward, Hristo Stoichkov. I mean, wow. It really highlights the absolute mental paralysis of that French team. You see, they weren't beaten purely on skill. They were crushed by the immense, suffocating pressure of expectation. They played not to lose, rather than actually playing to win, and it cost them everything. And the emotional fallout for David Ginola? Absolutely catastrophic. It's like a tale of two different players. On one hand, he was this dazzling club star, right? The top scorer, winning France's top domestic league, Ligue 1 with PSG. But on the other hand, he became a total national exile. Remember that Houllier quote? The manager publicly scapegoated him as a criminal? The public backlash was so intense that Ginola actually considered retiring. Ultimately, he left France entirely for England, and get this, he was completely overlooked for France's victorious 1998 World Cup campaign. One bad cross, an entire lifetime of exile.
Section 2. Italy, the ultimate underachiever. Let's move to our next example and see how this builds. Because if France '93 was a sudden heart attack, Italy's modern era is like a slow, agonizing decline for one of international football's true, historic royalty.
This data right here beautifully illustrates what is basically a mathematical crime against probability. Academic research actually analyzed nations within UEFA, that's European football's governing body, based on structural characteristics. We're talking population size and GDP per capita. According to the math, large, wealthy countries with deep footballing traditions, they should qualify easily, no sweat. Yet, as you can see, Italy ranks as the single biggest structural underachiever in European qualification history.
Which brings us to this staggering number, 79.6%. Think about that. Based on all the economic and demographic data available, Italy had an almost 80% predicted probability of qualifying for the World Cup. It was virtually a guarantee. Yet somehow, they squandered it completely.
Just consider this brutal timeline. We're talking about 4-time World Cup champions here, yet they missed the 2018 tournament after a heartbreaking 2-game playoff loss to Sweden. Then, despite literally winning Euro 2020 just prior, they suffer a catastrophic 1-0 loss to 67th-ranked North Macedonia to miss 2022. And then, Aiming for the 2026 tournament, they completely fall apart in a penalty shootout loss to Bosnia after a 1-1 draw. 3 consecutive World Cups missed. Global superstars, guys like Gianluigi Donnarumma and Alessandro Bastoni, have basically become ghosts on the World Cup pitch.
Unsurprisingly, the intense Italian media branded this latest absence as the third apocalypse. And honestly, for them, it really is a national disaster. It exposes these deep structural issues, a severe lack of youth development, and total managerial instability. Imagine being a nation whose entire identity is so deeply intertwined with football, and you're left watching the world's biggest party from your living room sofa again.
Section 3. The 48-team illusion. Which brings us to a really cruel twist of the modern era. You see, the 2026 World Cup expanded the tournament from 32 to 48 teams. This was supposed to be a massive safety net. It was designed to ensure that the big, historic giants would literally never miss out again.
But compare these two eras for a second. Back in the 1990s, the format was incredibly limited. One mistake meant elimination, like we saw with France. Fast forward to the 2026 format. With all those expanded spots, it was meant to be super forgiving. But the reality? Oh man, it completely backfired for the elites. The expansion actually intensified the belief of the underdogs. More teams felt they had a legitimate fighting chance. And that led to these incredibly tight, unpredictable groups, where established nations could no longer just coast by on their reputation alone.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact point. The sheer scale of the devastation proves the expansion absolutely did not save the elite. Just look at the shock absences for 2026. It's not just Italy. We've got Denmark, tactical giants ranked 20th in the world. African powerhouses like Nigeria and Cameroon. I mean, Cameroon has a massive historic pedigree. They even beat Brazil in the 2022 group stage. Totally absent. That whole safety net idea? A complete illusion.
But, here is the really beautiful flip side to all this heartbreak. As the giants fall, this incredible space opens up for miracles. Take Curaçao, for instance. It's a tiny island nation with a population of just 156,000 people, and they secured a debut ticket to the 2026 tournament. How cool is that? So while the massive titans of the sport are weeping, the magic of the underdog is absolutely thriving out there.
This brings us to what we call the leveler. And for all you new fans out there, this is exactly why World Cup qualifying matters so much. It's this wild phenomenon where all your nation's wealth, all your population data, and all your past glories are entirely neutralized by just 90 minutes of football. A single misplaced cross by a guy like David Ginola, or an underdog's relentless, scrappy determination can shatter an entire dynasty. Out on that pitch, history offers absolutely zero protection. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to take away from our explainer today. If decades of history, academic probability data, and even a massively expanded 48-team safety net cannot protect football's greatest giants from absolute heartbreak, who will be the next to fall? Keep watching, my friends, because in World Cup qualifying, the drama is literally never over.